Meeting to order. Mr. Enderly, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor, would you please say the prayer?
Father God in heaven, we thank you for this wonderful, wonderful day that you've allowed us to be in today. God, we thank you for the rain that you've poured upon the valley here. We appreciate it, God. We ask that you will send more rain to Monte Vista and to the valley. God, we ask that you will guide our meeting tonight, that you will help us and direct us into the right decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, Anita.
Counselor Foster.
Present.
Counselor Locke.
Here.
Counselor Lorenz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Here.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Quorum is declared.
Modifications to the agenda.
Yes, sir, we have a few modifications to the agenda. We need to remove N6, staff proposal and reports, city manager's report. We need to add L1, the intergovernmental agreement for opioid region 18. And then we need to add F2, appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission of Barb Sears and Ruth Anna Seeger.
That'd be F3, right?
F3, sorry.
Motion to accept the changes to the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the modifications to the agenda. Is there any more discussion? Anita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the modifications to the agenda as stated.
Approval of a consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting from June 16th, 2022, and review and approval of accounts payable.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, even though accounts payable was upside down in our packet.
And I think it was like seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for the consent agenda for the minutes of regular meeting June 16th, 2022, and review and approval of accounts payable. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Proclamations, communications, and appointments. We're gonna move the number one down a little bit to get some, till we see if somebody shows up. Okay, so we will go with Safety Champion Award. Rob?
So, I'm going to bring Dave up here for a second, but like to just kind of talk a little bit about, boy, it's been a while, but a few years ago, we moved Dave from being an equipment operator in the streets over to being our shop coordinator. And at that time, I told Dave I wanted him to take the shop, I wanted him to make it his, and to make it as safe and as he possibly could for the users, and just to make sure that the entire shop was his. I was so pleased to say that Dave took those instructions, owned them, and ran with them completely out of the ballpark. He fabricated an oil system, so we stopped dripping oil on the floors. He did it where it was, instead of all manual and pumps, that you simply went over to one area, you're able to turn a valve, you were able to get your choice of oil that you needed for your particular vehicle. He then took upon it to make some safety improvements throughout the entire fleet to make sure that everybody was following the same safety guidelines. So prior to COVID, I had put him in for our Surser Safety Award. And technically, I actually forgot about it because I hadn't heard anything. And then this last month, we got notice that Dave was selected by our insurance company as a safety champion for Monte Vista and of a few in the state of Colorado. So this time I'd like to bring Dave up front and give him first my thanks for doing an outstanding job. He continues. Every task I give him, he just continues to shine and show more. So his award tonight was presented at the CML CIRSA meeting in Breckenridge 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. And so he got to go up to Breckenridge and receive this from CIRSA, but we would like to present it to him in front of council tonight as well. CIRSA Safety Champion Award is presented to Dave Cisneros from the City of Monte Vista for 2020 Outstanding Management of a Safety Program.
Don't run, Dave. It's not that bad.
It only burns for a little bit.
Dave's like, I'm out of
No,
here.
it hurts. You guys need to focus with that.
He sits out. He's out.
Good job, Dave. That says a lot. Appreciate that. So I'll explain the proclamation number 1 first for the Stampede celebration. We're waiting for a Stampede representative to be here. That's why we're going to continue to move it. Hopefully somebody will show up. Okay. Number 3, we'll do reappointment of Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So council, tonight before you is on the reappointment of Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission in our code, in our regulations, states that Planning and Zoning Commissioners need to be reappointed every 2 years. And we don't know when the last time they were reappointed. So they both have sent in their letters of interest, and we're asking tonight for City Council to approve to reappoint Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I move to appoint Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there any discussion?
Just a question real quick. How long have you been serving? Just curious.
Well, this is my second time around, and I don't know how long we've done it this time. 5 years or something? Yeah.
Thank you.
Anita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to reappoint Ruth Ann Seeger and Barb Sears to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you so much for doing that.
I have one correction. It's Ruth Ann.
I'll have it spelled right. I'll just say your name.
I know, that's okay.
Well, thanks for correcting me, because I've been talking with that for a long time.
It's all right.
You still answer.
I do. It's been a lifelong struggle.
All right, well, we will go to citizen comments and special presentations. We'll do citizen comments first. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this meeting. Do we have anybody that wants to say anything? Right on. And I got quiet quick. All right, well, we'll go on to scheduled appearances. In order to be on the, as a scheduled appearance, you have to contact the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So, Larry Garner, Dirt Drags. at the Movie Manor.
Did you bring an example?
No, I knew the chief was gonna be here. I thought I'd take it easy. For those of you who don't know me, I've been doing fundraising stuff, automotive-based events, motorcycle rodeos and swap meets and car shows and stuff like that for 35 years. Started out with the Mountain Magic Motorcycle Club in 1987, raising money. The whole purpose of that motorcycle club was to raise money for families with seriously ill and terminally ill children. And I did that for a number of years. I moved to Utah and did the same thing up there. And when we moved back here, we started a group called Fast Friends. And it was the same type of deal. We raised money for people with sick kids. We also raised money to help with the skate park, the Kids Connection, other stuff in Monte Vista. I grew up in Monte Vista. I don't live here now. I live in Hooper, but Monte Vista is my hometown, and I try to do what I can to help. And I'm a pretty good promoter. That's my skill that stands out above most of the others. So a lot of people talk about doing stuff. I don't talk about it, I do it. And I heard people bugging me, I guess would be the best way to say that, to get something going out at the Movie Manor after the dirt drags left in 2019. The hot rod dirt drags moved to Pikes Peak International Raceway in Colorado Springs, looking for a bigger fan base and more money, because they did that as a money-making deal for themselves. The company that did that was a for-profit organization. Charlie Spielman and a bunch of people have been beating on me ever since, trying to get me to do something out there. And we had it set up for 2020, and then COVID hit, and the powers that be in Denver said you couldn't have more than 5 people in one spot. The next year we were afraid they'd do the same thing, so we didn't bother spending 8 months getting it together. This year, there were other things going on, and we just didn't. But the people that moved to Colorado Springs from the Movie Manor haven't done anything either. 3 years have gone by, and they haven't resurrected that event anywhere else. And there are people literally from coast to coast in this country waiting for that to happen. So I went out and talked to the new management at the Movie Manor. They're a lot more receptive than the people that were out there before. They said, whatever you want to do, let's go racing. You know, you're doing this for charity. What do you want out of the deal? I told them, we want the gate. We want the money for people coming in with their cars. We want the gate, people coming in to watch, people putting their car in the car show. Everything else is yours. You can sell vendor spaces, do whatever you want to do, all the rooms, all the camper spaces, RV spaces, the restaurant, the bar, whatever you want to do. But that's what we want out of it. And out of that money, we will, after our expenses, we will donate all profits to a children's charity or a community project to do with children in Monte Vista. And he said, done, absolutely, let's do it. So I went and I talked to Pat Sullivan at the County Road and Bridge. They're going to do all the track prep for free because it's a nonprofit deal. I spoke to Rob Vance about maybe borrowing some barricades and cones and that sort of thing, and a water truck to keep the track damp during the weekend, and we seem to be on the same page there. I've got some sponsors lined up, but we need a bunch more. We're going to have so many expenses. But what brought me to the point where I have to do this now is I posted online on one of the websites for the main fan base of this whole event. Because I had tried contacting the people that did it before and they wouldn't respond to me, and I'm not very good at being ignored. So I posted online, I said, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2023, dirt drags at the Movie Manor. I took their weekend and the whole deal. I thought, now they'll talk to me. Well, they didn't. But the Movie Manor, I posted that at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. At 1 o'clock the next afternoon, the movie manor was sold out for next June. And I've got people bugging me for addresses of hotels, motels, bed and breakfast. This thing's going to be a monster. Guy called up from Florida, reserved 4 rooms. Guys from California, reserved 4 rooms. Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Pennsylvania. Got people coming from all over the country for this event. They've been waiting 3 years and they are wound up. So I just wanted to let everybody know what's going on. I spoke to the chief yesterday and I was really glad to hear his take on this whole thing and his attitude, because in the past there'd been a little friction between the prior chief of police and the people that were in town for that event. And can pretty well guarantee that's not going to happen this time. I'm really glad that that's the case. I just wanted to let everybody know what's going on. I'm not really here begging for money from the city or anything like that. Just letting you know what we got planned. If you know anybody with a business or a group or whatever that would like to get recognized as a sponsor of this event to help us with porta potties, all the different stuff we're going to have to do to make this happen, insurance, that sort of thing, have them contact me and we'll get them on the list. We're going to have banners at the event. We're going to have posters all over the place with sponsors' names on them. We're going to print T-shirts with sponsors' names on the back. I always do this, all the events I ever do. And I tell people it's like getting a tattoo. I don't have a set amount of money that you have to give me to be a sponsor. But the more money you give me, the bigger your name is on the T-shirt. So that's how that works. So people that want their name really big on the top of the T-shirt can step up and make that happen. And we've had people do that in the past, have called me and said, what's it going to take to get my name on the top of the T-shirt?
Neither do we have his contact info.
I do.
Okay. Another question. How many times a year can we do this?
This event itself, this main one, we changed the name of it. It used to be called the Hot Rod Dirt Drags. I didn't want to step on those guys' toes. When I contacted them, I said, look, I'm not trying to start any trouble. I just want to do something with that facility. And if it comes down to it, we'll just do it on a local basis, 2 or 3 times a year or whatever. And they never answered me. So I thought, well, I'll just twist their tail a little and we'll see what happens. Well, what happened was I got committed in a big hurry, and now we got to get busy. But in answer to your question, other than that, on a normal year, next year, we can't get it going this year. We can't get to that point. But once the track is in shape and all that, we could do this 3 or 4 times a year for locals, locals from Farmington to Pueblo to Albuquerque, Denver. Because I've had people tell me, any amount of times you want to do this a year, we'll bring 6 cars. Guy from Fountain told me.
Cool.
So we could make this a 4-time-a-year thing. And I had changed the name of the group from Fast Friends because we let our government thing slide and they wouldn't let me reinstate it under that name. So now we're called SLV Fast Friends. But that's what we got planned, and we would appreciate any help we can get and any positive reinforcement along the way, because it's going to be a job.
Nita, how much do we have still as far as the council? Just curious.
And I'd be open to any questions, comments.
I've been to a couple of those and had a blast. And when I seen that 84-year-old guy with his first original car win that race, that was an absolute amazing moment.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't been out there, this is mostly geared towards traditional hot rods. A lot of them are old Model Ts, Model As, stuff like that, and up to some I think the cutoff point they had was 1959. We're going to make it 72 to allow some of the locals to come, because we think in 73 is when cars got ugly. So we're going to cut it off at 72. But, you know, it's a dirt 8-mile track. You can't get up much terminal speed. It's not about racing. There's, you know, we're not going to have classes and all that. The traditional guys that show up, like you were talking about, some of these guys have been racing at Bonneville since the 40s, 50s. You know, and they bring all those cars up here and stuff, and old antique race cars and stuff. And a lot of those Model Ts don't get up to 35 miles an hour, an eighth of a mile on dirt. And the guy's in there doing this, trying to get the thing to go faster. And the first year I went out there, a friend of mine said, "Well, what'd you think?" And I said, "I never had so much fun watching cars go slow." It was a kick, you know, it was a hoot. You know, I've raced a lot on the streets back in the day, dirt roads around Monte Vista, and also on tracks and stuff, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And I was amazed that I was so enamored with all the old cars going so darn slow out there. But it is fun.
Yeah, definitely. Good time. Anybody else have any questions for Larry?
Okay.
We'll
you
probably
so
have
much.
someone get closer, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
URA property purchases?
Anita.
Anita?
Sorry, dang it. I won't talk a whole lot of numbers, I promise. Gigi asked me, I hope I can give you like a summary synopsis of what's going on. The URA has a grant from CBDG. It's a state grant, and it ended June the 5th. And so we're in the process of figuring out what we want to do during the closure of it. It was originally awarded in 2017, I believe, is when the mayor at that time signed the grant. They didn't start doing anything with it until about 2019. And then 20 and 21, some reimbursements were received for administration of the project and the purchase of a couple of pieces of property. The question at this point, at the closeout, is the two pieces of property. Okay, so wait. The amount of money that has been reimbursed to the URA through this grant is about $43,000. $20,000 of that was for the purchase of the two pieces of property. And so now the question is, do we want to keep the property and close out the grant? If we keep those two pieces of property, they will be restricted for 5 years as far as what can be done on them for housing. That's about all I know. Gigi would be able to interject more into that. But anyway, so if we just close out the grant and leave it as is, we would have to keep those two pieces of property for 5 years, and we wouldn't be able to sell them or anything. But if there was money that we could get, like from housing or HUD or something like that, we could maybe put some housing on them. If we don't want to go that route and we wanted to sell them without restrictions now, we would have to return all of that money to the state, that $43,000, so that the property wouldn't be restricted and we could sell it without deed restrictions. So then I called Larry Roberts to see if he could give me a really rough estimate of the value of the property. And for the two of them, he said maybe 20, 30,000 max a piece. So if you think that we got $40,000 back out of them for selling them, but we returned to the state 43,000, you're not really even breaking even. So the question to you is, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's worth it to return the money and get rid of the deed restrictions so the URA can sell them? Or would you prefer to hold on to them for 5 years and let it ride and see what happens? Or, see if we can get some other kinds of grant monies to use for housing on them? Or I think that's how I'm supposed to ask.
Where are the properties?
One of them is 917 Broadway,
917 Broadway?
and the other one, 917 Broadway, and the other one is 630 Franklin. Larry Roberts tells me there's an old house on the Franklin property, but he didn't think is there anything on them, Rob?
Both those lots are vacant.
That's what I thought, they were
We
vacant.
demoed those lots in 2018.
So they are demoed and they're vacant, but, so, anyway.
What was the other address? 635 Franklin?
630 Franklin.
630 Franklin.
So that's the dirt road as you come off of 6th Avenue towards Terror of the Soul. It's at the very end of that road.
So the only restriction is we can't sell it, but we can build something on it if we want to.
That we could build something if it's related to, I think it has housing restrictions for low income or multifamily or things like that. Is that correct, Dale?
It's
I forgot you're on the URA. Help me out here.
it's low income.
Right. And there's lots of money out there this year now, or now there is a lot of money out there for housing, through the infrastructure bills and things, but that involves time and initiative and to get that going. But
Is that money to families, or is that money to like the city within the city could purchase, build a home?
I think there's money available for both, for families, to build. I know when the fire happened and we were talking to the housing, and how they had loans and they have different kinds of loans that help families build, not just repair, but build. But
And you were
anyway,
going to be
I just
check-
thought, we wanted to propose that to you. We need to work on the closeout, and I'm sorry we didn't give you more time to think about it.
Have you been, I know we talked about reaching out to see if we close that one out, if there's another one we can get.
I believe Mark had been talking to Andrew, somebody from the state. And I know when I first got involved in trying to understand it, and we had a conference call, it's been a while back, I know he mentioned at that point housing grants for it. It was the way to go instead of this demolition kind of stuff.
Would it be worthwhile for us to have a work session on that so we can have all
Well,
the
then if you want
information?
to, we do have a work session, I think, planned next week, if there'd be enough time maybe to discuss it a little bit more by then,
Oh, because we have a work session on Monday?
or Wednesday,
Wednesday?
I think.
We have on a
We
Wednesday
have
too.
two next week.
No.
2?
How exciting.
Oh, fine.
Three?
So we could do,
So we do Tuesday.
Do I hear 4?
we could probably put it on one of those.
You can put it on Wednesdays, not Mondays. Mondays is already posted.
Okay. We put it on Wednesdays and just add.
That works.
Would that be okay, then? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Do you want me to continue to wait on that? See if somebody shows up?
I would say due to unforeseen other circumstances that they probably aren't gonna make it. So maybe read it into record and then we'll make sure that they get a copy of it.
Okay. We have a proclamation celebrating 100 years of Sky High Stampede. Whereas Sky High Stampede in Monte Vista is the oldest professional rodeo in Colorado. Whereas the first celebration of the rodeo was held August 1919. Whereas because of World War II, no rodeo events were held for 2 years. Whereas it was reported that as many as 10,000 people assembled to watch and cheer on the local rodeo competition. Whereas the rodeo is a blend of cultures, traditions, and upbringings dating back to the 16th century and the Spanish conquistadors and Spanish-Mexican settlers who introduced and propagation of horses and cattle in the Southwest. Whereas Sky High Stampede has continued for more than 9 decades as an annual event in Monte Vista. Whereas Sky High Stampede is a not-for-profit organization ran by dedicated community leaders. Whereas the Sky High Committee commits thousands of hours each year to promote a first-class community event. Whereas because of the dedication of the Sky High Stampede Committee, the historical event likely would not happen and the signature event for Monte Vista would be lost. Whereas Sky High Stampede has a significant boost to the local economy and brings friends, visitors from across the country to the community each year. Whereas each third weekend in July is dedicated to rodeos, concerts, dances, carnivals, barbecues, family gatherings, and class reunions throughout Monte Vista. Therefore, by the power of the Monte Vista City Council, we dedicate July 21st through the 24th, 2022, Sky High Stampede 100th Anniversary Weekend, and welcome the visitors, cowboys, cowgirls, clowns, and the vendors who have come to the city for a safe and fun celebration of history, camaraderie. After all, it's the bulls and blood. It's the dust and mud and the roar of a weekend crowd. Done the 7th day of July, 2022. Hoorah. Great celebration. I know for a fact there's people coming here from Oklahoma just for the concert. All right.
Mayor,
Yes.
could I add just just a small thing to what I was saying earlier?
Yes, sir, you may.
I just wanted to add that I got carried away earlier and I didn't say anything, but the chief and I were speaking and he has some really great ideas to make this event better and more, I guess, better accepted by both sides as opposed to what was happening before. And I wanted to thank him for his thoughts and his ideas. He had some great ideas about doing some stuff downtown and whatever, welcoming those folks downtown. Because I know before the downtown business people really wanted them to come into town. And they came into town and then there was a small hassle and it didn't happen the next 2 years. And everybody was wondering why, and it was because they were asked not to come into town. And so they want to come into Monte Vista and support all the businesses and stuff. They want to come into town and frequent the cafes and the motels and the gas stations and everything else involved. And I told them that I was going to do my best to make that happen this year, that would be a thing. And Chief Dingfelder and I are on the same page, and I'm really glad for his support.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. All right, we will move on to ordinances. Draft ordinance 913 regulating the placement of murals. So who's going to be in charge of that one?
So Barb Sears, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, will present that.
So you guys, I should have handed you all a corrected version. Does anybody need one more copy? Never done this. I hear I have to read this whole thing to you. So here we go. Thanks for putting me back on the board. I'll read this legally then. Ordinance number 913. An ordinance regulating the placement of murals in the city of Monte Vista. Whereas the Monte Vista Planning Commission and City Council have considered the placement of murals along public rights-of-way in the city of Monte Vista, and whereas the City Council has determined that properly placed murals which enhance and portray the city's character will contribute to its citizens' enjoyment of life, identity, and economic progress, and the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, and whereas the City Council likewise recognizes that improperly created and placed murals can likewise have a detrimental effect upon the appearance and message of the city, and it is the policy of the city to promote the qualities above mentioned for the benefit of its citizens. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of Monte Vista, Colorado, that 1. Article 20 signs of the Monte Vista Municipal Code be redesignated as Article 20 signs and murals, that the following divisions be placed thereafter: Division 1 signs and Division 2 murals, and that a new subdivision be added to the conclusion of section 1220-10 to read as follows. Division 2 murals. Section 12-20-200 definition and standards. A, purpose. Properly placed and designed murals in commercially zoned areas of the city shall contribute and conform to the city's character, aesthetics, culture, vision, and traditional events. B, definition. Mural means a hand-produced or machine graphic applied or affixed to the exterior of a building wall through the application of paint, canvas, tile, metal panels, applied sheet graphics, or other medium generally so that the wall becomes the background surface or platform for the graphic, generally for the purpose of decoration or artistic expression, which has the effect of enhancement of the city's natural environment, culture, vision, and primary event celebrations, including but not limited to painting. C, mural placement. Murals shall be allowed in all commercial districts of the city. Murals are generally intended for placement on the non-primary facade of a building and, where compatible with the building's placement and structure and the approval of the city manager, on the primary facade. A primary facade is defined for purposes of this section as the building elevation that faces the adjacent street right-of-way and is the primary customer entrance. Buildings located on a block corner with a primary customer entrance located diagonally at the building corner to both intersecting streets shall be considered to have 2 primary facades and shall necessitate the choice of either facade by the owner. In such case, the choice shall require the approval of the city manager. D, specific prohibited mural types. 1. Murals or other representations which imitate or appear to imitate any official traffic sign or device which appears to regulate or direct the movement of traffic, or which interferes with the proper operation of any traffic sign or signal, or which obstructs or physically interferes with a motor vehicle operator's view of approaching, merging, or intersecting traffic. 2. Murals that project from the wall surface except for the minimum necessary protrusion to mount the mural to the wall or structure. 3. Murals which contain material that, when taken as a whole, applying contemporary community standards, its predominant appeal is to prurient interest in sex, and the average person applying contemporary community standards would find the material depicts or describes sexual content in a patently offensive way, and a reasonable person would find the material lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. 4. Murals that are directed to incite or produce imminent lawless actions and are likely to incite or produce such action. 5. Murals that convey threats of violence that are directed at a person or group of persons that have the intent of placing the target at risk of bodily harm. 6. Murals where the intended audience is commercial or actual or potential consumers, and where the content of the message is commercial in character. 7. Murals commonly known as graffiti. 8. Murals which are consistent with the message and purposes described in this section 12-20-200A above. E, surface preparation on historic buildings. Sand and high-pressure water blasting are not permitted as a cleaning process for either surface preparation or for mural maintenance purposes on any building designated or eligible for inclusion on the state or national register of historic buildings. Treatments that cause damage to historic materials shall not be used. F, maintenance. The mural shall be kept in good condition by the owner and or person in possession for the life of the mural according to the maintenance schedule and responsibilities approved by the city manager and incorporated into the mural permit. A mural exhibit shall be deemed to be in a state of disrepair when 25% or more of the display surface area contains peeling or flaking paint or is otherwise not preserved in the manner in which it was originally created. Murals should be covered with a protective coating which allows for simple removing of any marring, debris, or vandalism. The display surface shall be kept clean and neatly painted and free from corrosion. Any mural that is not maintained according to the maintenance schedule incorporated onto the mural permit or that falls into a state of disrepair may be ordered, removed, or covered with opaque paints, similar to the primary building materials colors or other appropriate material by the city manager, all in the manner provided for in the mural permit. Murals subject to removal shall be provided a time limit of 30 days from the date of the written notice for such removal or covering. Additional time may be authorized by the city manager for good cause. This covenant shall run with the land and shall be binding upon the owner, his or her designees, heirs, successors, and assigns. G, design standards. 1. Explanatory wording relative to the graphic may be incorporated into the mural. Artist signatures shall be allowed and limited to maximum of 2 square feet in size. 2. The proposed mural will not have an adverse impact on the safe, efficient movement of vehicular or pedestrian traffic. 3. The location and scale of the mural should be in keeping with and enhance the building or structure on which it is located. The proposed mural shall be well integrated with the building's facade and other elements of the property and enhance the architecture or aesthetics of a building or wall. 4. The proposed mural, by its design, construction, and location, will not have a substantial adverse effect on abutting property or the permitted use thereof. The proposed mural shall not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. 5. The mural shall not have a detrimental effect on the structural integrity of the wall on which it is applied or affixed. 6. The maintenance schedule is reasonable for the mural and the building on which it is applied or affixed. 7. The mural may be attached by using an alternate medium, i.e. canvas, tile, metal panels, or similar materials with an approved attachment method, or may be otherwise applied by methods that will not damage the wall surface, including brick. A. New materials such as applied sheet graphics and appliques that can be removed readily from brick may be utilized. B. Other new materials can be utilized provided they are found to be non-detrimental to the surface on which applied. Section 1220-210 Mural Permit. No mural shall be installed unless written permission is first obtained from the owner of the building upon which the mural is to be placed, or the building owner's agent, and a mural permit is obtained from the office of the city clerk, approved by the city manager. The city shall either issue a permit with conditions, or a denial with stated reasons within 30 days from the date on which the application has been filed. A. Application requirements. Each permit application shall contain, but not limited to, the following information. 1. Site plan showing the lot and building dimensions and indicating the proposed location of the mural. 2. Pictures of the building elevations. 3. A scale drawing and color photo of the building elevation showing the proposed size and placement of the mural. 4. A color drawing of the proposed mural. 5. A description of the proposed maintenance schedule that includes the time frame for the life of the mural and method for removal, if applicable. 6. Written confirmation by the mural provider's installer that no damage or negative impact will occur to the wall surface that the mural is to be applied or affixed to. 7. Written permission from the owner of the building to which the mural is intended to be applied if the applicant is not the building owner. 8. An acknowledgement that the mural must be removed or covered if so ordered by the city manager for failure to maintain or for reaching a state of dilapidation, as described in subsection 12-20-200D above. B. B, mural permit approval. Applications for a mural permit in the downtown area shall be reviewed for approval by the city manager. No mural permit shall be approved unless the city manager finds that these requirements have been fulfilled. C, appeals. Appeals of the city manager's decision to approve or not approve a mural application may be made in writing to the city clerk within 10 days of the city manager's decision and thereafter referred to the city Board of Adjustment for consideration and appropriate decision. D, violation penalty. A violation of any of the provisions of this section 12-20-200 and 12-20-210 shall be punishable in accordance with the provisions of section 1-4-20 of this code. Each day of continued violation shall constitute a separate offense. Done and signed this day of July 22. Any questions?
Okay, we did get a mural ordinance in our packet yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm kind of just shooting off the hip here because it's hard to compare this to that.
There's
while the
only
meeting's going on.
a couple changes. We changed city manager and designee to just city manager. Will make this decisions.
What was the reasoning for that? That was that was going to be one of the ones that why does the city manager? Why can the city manager not apply? Maybe they're going to be on vacation for a couple of weeks.
And we discussed that. And we really said we don't think there's going to be a mural emergency. That it couldn't wait until she got back. I mean, I don't think she takes off for months at a time. So right.
But I don't think she would leave anybody in charge that she didn't trust to make art decisions.
Well, she agreed with these changes as well. So
that's fine.
Yeah. We just
that
felt
doesn't mean that I do though.
That's okay. That's okay. We just agreed that it should be the city manager. We took that to P&Z as well. So.
Well, I would be more comfortable if that were changed, if that were as it is in our packet, because we never know what life is going to bring, and sometimes the city manager, may not be available. Heaven forbid something drastic or tragic were to happen, and we were left with only an interim city manager. So this doesn't really cover that. So
if they've got the title of city manager, I do believe.
Right.
Would probably Jean have that authority if they're the interim city manager?
Well, now we're back to needing the designee in there.
The first version of this did have designee in it, so I deferred to. I think you had talked to probably Gigi about this.
Mm-hmm.
Did she just want the?
I think we've got her
manager
online there, don't we, Nita? Can she talk to us at all?
I will ask her.
Okay. Originally, we preferred that it went to a board. But after everyone met, we came down to city manager. So.
And I didn't understand why the second paragraph, and it's just,
which one is that?
Whereas the city council, what's in our packet is whereas the city council has determined that properly placed murals will enhance and portray the city's character, aesthetics, culture, vision, and traditional events will contribute to its citizens' enjoyment of life, identity, and economic progress, and the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. And then it's changed to the city council has determined that properly placed murals will enhance and portray the city's character, will contribute to its citizens' enjoyment of life. It just seems that a lot, just as a looking at it from if I were a wordsmith, looking at it from a wordsmith point of view, this is a much more attractive and much more inclusive.
I don't recall that we changed that.
About that during.
We
Councilor
discussed
Locke,
that.
I might be able to explain that a
Okay.
little bit because
The
first part of this is not going to be codified, the whereases, and I saw that language up there in the whereases, and so, but the last part down below where therefore be it ordained, then you get into the codification part. And that's where we, in Division 2, murals, the purpose properly placed and designed murals in commercially zoned areas of the city shall contribute and conform to the city's character, aesthetics, culture, vision, and traditional events. We needed to have that in there because when it comes out in the codification form, all you're going to see is below the now therefore.
Okay, okay. And I think the only other note that I have written here, I'll have to go back and look at that one because I was just trying to make notes as you were reading. What about residential areas? Are we not going to allow them at all in residential areas?
We're not going to disallow them in residential.
You're not going to disallow them?
This is commercial only.
Okay, so, for example, I mean, I know there's a fence on First Street, and maybe they're finished, I don't know. It's pretty the way it is. It would be pretty if they went ahead
I
and,
think there's more to it.
and, you know, so I don't really know what their plans are, but it's really pretty. So we're gonna let people do things like
This
that
is
without,
commercial only.
okay,
All we're trying to take care
Okay.
of is commercial space.
okay.
Did you have something to add about the sandblasting?
Oh, Gigi did talk to somebody from the Historical Society today, I believe. Yeah, and some of this, they said, I guess there's some kind of new form of sandblasting that can be done now. It's not like just go on a building. So I think at this point we have to trust the city manager, if it was going on a historical building, that they're going to make sure that the process is correct, because I know she did look into that today. So.
Gigi on?
She is, I don't know if she hasn't answered if she feels like speaking yet.
She's not texting
She
me.
did send an email and said that she spoke with the Historical Society today. The only thing that they said to be concerned about is using the paint that can breathe when covering, use paint that can breathe when covering sandstone. They didn't seem to care if it was cleaned by sandblasting.
Hi, this is Gigi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. I'm finding the, what do you call it, the issues with being on this end of the understanding and hearing everybody. So I'm trying best to catch the key words. But I spoke with two different people today with the Historical Society, and they were pretty adamant that they don't care about color, they don't care necessarily about what happens as long as the integrity of the building is still maintained, and that the exterior of the buildings are not changed in some format that changes the historical value of what it looks like. And they talked about sandblasting did not seem to be an issue. I asked about that specifically. The back side of the facet building is in brick, and so that's a different issue. They just don't want like an addition added onto the building that it would change the historic value of it. And I also visited with Peg Shaw. Peg was pretty cute about the whole thing, as far as just mentioning that they rarely get down here and check anyway. But the gentleman I spoke with in Denver was great, answered all of our questions, and did not lead me to think that there was any concern with what was painted, where it was painted, as long as we took into consideration that the sandstone or the brick could breathe and we don't damage then the exterior from that point of view.
So, if I understand that correctly, under surface preparation, section D here, sand and high pressure water blasting are not permitted as a cleaning process. We don't really need that. We just need basically the sentence that says treatments that can cause damage to historic material shall not be used. We don't want to damage the building. That's really
Correct.
all we want to do. So we can take that part out.
I think so.
Okay.
You might direct your question to her as well as far as the designee goes.
Oh. Gigi, are you with us still?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I didn't know if you could hear me or not. Is there a particular reason that you wanted just the city manager instead of city manager and/or his or her designee?
Actually, I'm fine with either way. We talked
Okay.
about, there was just, you could even put the city manager designee and/or the planning and zoning. The point is just to make sure that it can get done quickly and not be a cumbersome process and long and drawn out and trying to bring people together for meetings and that sort of thing.
Okay, so if we just leave it as in the original language of city manager or his or her designee, then we're good.
I don't know. I think I'd like to have somebody in charge.
Well, the city manager would be in charge.
No, but if she designates somebody, then it's not.
Or she would designate. So she's
Yeah.
still in charge, but she could designate.
See, she answers to us. So if she's gonna be in charge of this, then she answers to us. If it's her designee, we have no say in the matter. So I think leaving it as the city manager is appropriate.
Okay.
Buck has to start somewhere.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Maintenance F, we address flaking, we do not address fading. Is that something that should be addressed? As we are talking about a variety of different medias, some of which could be, we know that paint doesn't necessarily fade much, but some of the printed medias that we are talking about being allowed do fade.
Was she coughing or adding something?
I see someone raising their hand out here, I can't address them.
I think that's fair enough to add fading in there as well.
I think that would be covered under state of disrepair, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or does that leave it too open-ended?
Well, I mean, it only specifies flaking. And so, does it?
It says let's see, maybe ordered, removed, or covered with opaque paint similar to the where did I see this?
Just before the
Okay, the mural permit, any mural that is not maintained according to the maintenance schedule incorporated into the mural permit or that falls into a state of disrepair. I would think that fading would be disrepair.
Well, you can repair the fading.
Well, yeah, you can paint
Yeah.
over it, but that's part of the maintenance plan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you're thinking painting, think printed. And I think that it would probably be good if you did include fading to a certain, a standard of fading. Fading's a little harder to measure than 25% of flaking or tiles pulling off or whatever medians you're talking about. But someone could say that it is not in disrepair because this printed sheet of vinyl that's been up here for 10 years and has now lost all its color is not in disrepair.
But it has also not been maintained. If it's just a piece of vinyl up there,
Doesn't it talk about
the
like a
picture on it
scheduled
hasn't been
maintenance?
maintained.
It does say it has to have scheduled maintenance.
So during that
would-
application, we
I
can
don't think that you're applying for a,
right.
yeah, I think it's gonna probably be somebody who's just checking, I'm guessing your ordinance
So
officer.
like that's kind of like what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like during that, like they're saying, okay, we're gonna put up this painting. Okay, well, how often are you gonna check on that? Is there something that we can put in there to check on it 4 times a year?
I think there's
Well, that's
and,
it.
and I have no problem adding the fading, mainly because how often do we change our ordinance officer also? we put up the Stampede mural, and we have another ordinance officer in 3 years, and we say it's fading, how would the new one know what it looked like in the first place? So, you know, having fading in there may not be a bad idea.
Well, with the maintenance that's already there, that's already being required, I understand the vinyl. I understand your question this time, and can kind of see a point. Maybe when something is vinyl is put up there, because I know the people that make vinyl that do car wraps and they have an estimated, okay, we're going to guarantee this is going to last you 5 years. I don't know, I've never had my car wrapped, so I don't know what it is.
About right.
But, okay, so then for vinyl, when you apply for the permit, you just put in there, this is estimated to last for 5 years. Check it in 5 years. If it doesn't last that long, call us, we'll put up another one. I mean, that's just a guarantee, that's a standard work warranty. So I don't think we need to make that one any harder than it has to be either.
So just add fading to it.
I can still say add to fading, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The mural exhibit shall be deemed in a state of disrepair when 25% or more of the display surface area contains peeling, fading, add fading, or flaking paint, or is otherwise not preserved in the manner in which it is originally created.
Sure. Sounds good.
Somebody had their hand up higher and I missed
Yeah.
it. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add a few things. I'm the one who's done the first two. And this is a dream I had in the night, so this is as new to me as it is to y'all, but I'm not one to just do something and walk away. So Bill actually did this research, and we are using a product right now that's out of California, because they have a lot of murals in California, so they saw the need. And this company was designed for nothing but protecting murals. And it's a product called Mural Shield. And there's two products that we put on the newest one. There's a graffiti shield and a mural shield. The graffiti shield puts a breathable layer on there that if somebody were to graffiti or paint over it, try to paint over it, they tell us you can wash it off or use a light power washer and it will come off. And then the mural shield product binds the colors and keeps them bright. Now, they recommend that you redo that or resurface it every 7 years. It'll cost us about $100 a mural to do that, but it's something that we absolutely intend to do. It may take a little bit of fundraising. I think the chamber would probably help us with that. And my artist that I've been using, Jamie Brody, he's very, very reasonable. If Bill and I had to code it, we would code it. But just so you know, that's a product that if it's painted on the wall, and that's something that I absolutely, if we've factored in the cost of the murals to do. I don't know if somebody else comes along and does this. It's quite a process, and you need we went through this process with the second one that we just did for the Stampede. On the first one, nobody really knew anything. I would ask Martha, I asked the city manager, she was on vacation, go for it, And so we just got the builders, the owner's permission, and we went and painted it. And then it became a thing. And then, so we're evolving as we go. And I intend to go by all of these rules anyway. I have no problem with them. It went smoothly last time, but I don't know how many people will want to do one of these and get the funding and go through the process. It is a bit of a process. It does take time, but it's just something I feel passionate about, that we really needed something to dress up our town, get people kind of excited again. It was, in my opinion, looking a little sad. And so that's where we are right now. The next one is going to be the grand finale, I think, of murals. And we have a lot of the permissions already. We are just down to the funding. So we have about half of the funding, a little less than half. But it will be agricultural based. So Danielle DeForest is another person. Her and her husband are redoing a building over by the bowling alley to become a pub, and she's been very helpful to me in help designing and coming up with the ideas for these murals. And everything that we're coming up with, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with. But I get the idea that you have to have these rules to keep crazy stuff from happening, because it will. But that's just throwing it out there. That's just a product that I have the whole booklet here, and you're welcome to it. They offer a wide range of products, but this was the two-step application that they recommended to preserve it. And fingers crossed, I mean, it's not cheap. It's $100 a gallon. So I'm thinking it's gonna work, and we're not gonna have any issues, not with the ones I'm involved with, on fading or chipping or, as long as it's something I'm involved with, I can tell you that I'll do my ever-loving best to make sure it stays looking good. So, just so y'all know, that's what we're doing.
If I could make a couple comments there, if you would make sure you leave that with Gigi also, so as she's making all of these decisions, she has the products available.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if you read this under maintenance, it's up to the building owner, his or her heir, successor, or designee, to maintain the mural. So it wouldn't be your expense to go back out there.
I know,
but just so you're aware.
Because they were kind enough to let us do it,
Right.
I feel like it's something that I would do, and honestly, I just did plan to do this anyway, and I didn't think it was gonna get this big deal, but it is, so.
Well, we appreciate that, but
Oh.
just be aware, we have made it where whoever owns the building, when they go into that agreement, they need to know they're responsible for maintaining it, because it may not be them doing the mural.
Well, they can
So-
always just go paint over it and
Right.
be done with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's paint.
That's one of the choices,
It's
yeah.
not like we redesigned the whole
Yeah.
building or anything like
Exactly.
that. I mean, a lot of these buildings could use paint, so we might.
I have a couple
encourage
locations I need to visit with you
people
about.
to paint. So, that's what as long as I can keep going with this smoothly and everybody stays excited, I'm more than willing to help. But if, I told myself early on, if I get a big snag, I'm done. But I do intend to maintain whatever I've got going on so far to the best of my abilities, and I think this product's gonna work.
Bernadette, can you
Thank
please
you.
state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, it's Bernadette Hagendorf.
Thank you.
When these murals are all finished, do you think you can get us like an estimate of how much that coating would cost?
Yes.
Just that we would know, and so.
Yeah, well, right now it's running between, with the two products, the mural shield was $80 a gallon, and the graffiti shield, I've got invoices. So it's, if you do both coatings, now the one we're gonna do next is gonna be way up high, and I just can't imagine that anybody would wanna climb up there to graffiti it.
You never know.
So I'm on the fence whether I wanna just do the mural shield to protect the coloring, or if we really need to do the coating. Our artist actually has had his scaffolding stolen twice. He's fixing to buy his third set of scaffolding, which has been a real issue for him because he's not a rich man at all, and it's been really hard. But he is super excited about this and just so thankful to have the opportunity. But yes, I can, I'm sure like everything, the price is gonna go up in 7 years, and let's hope it doesn't double, but you could probably figure $200 to $300 on a mural, which isn't gonna break the bank. And you put it on with a pump up sprayer, so it's not a big process. But it is breathable, so that it says it's breathable, so that should, as far as the historic building that we're looking at is the Facet building next. Fortunately, the back of the building is brick, and it's not that sandstone that's all around the other sides. So, and Carol Riggenbach actually had it painted in preparation for something she was gonna try to put advertising up there. I think it was a couple of years ago. She's already painted it black. Well, with the mural that we're wanting to do, we're gonna have to paint it back tan to start with a neutral surface. for what we were wanting to paint. So, we'll have to put another coat. Now, what the paint he's using is latex. So, it's just, it's just your outdoor brand paint. But the sealer is what I think is the important part of keeping the color and binding the colors. So, it's all breathable.
Okay. I want to clarify something just real quick that was said, and I know what you were saying. Miss Hagendorf did call me. I didn't tell you to go for it though, okay? Because I don't have the authority to do that. But I did refer you to Gigi, who. Because I told you I didn't know if it had to come before us or if it had to go. I wasn't sure where it needed to go. So just for the recording and for everyone here. Oh, Martha told her to go for it. Martha didn't do that.
Come on, Martha.
When you said that, yeah, I thought, oh, that's going down in posterity forever and ever.
No, you referred me to Gigi. She was on vacation and they just sent her an email and she said, no problem, go for it.
Right.
Yeah, but I did show a picture of what we were gonna do.
Well, one of my first motions was to release the RPG, so I just want to make sure that, history doesn't paint me as some really terrible person.
Me personally, when you guys start getting more into this, I would like for you to make time during the council meeting to come and share some more of that with us.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and get on with the ordinance. So we've already got some thoughts on changes, correct? So
Yep,
you
I
will
wrote them
take-
down in case you guys want to repeat them again right before we go. So,
Yeah, repeat them before we go, and then you can get with Gigi and let's get that, or Gene, I guess would be the.
I'll give you one more.
okay.
Under design 7, I understand is talking about not damaging the wall surface, which I completely understand. But if I'm the owner of the building, does that prohibit me from damaging my own wall surface?
If you want to drive through your building.
If I want to drive something into the brick of my building, I want to be able to do that.
Where's that for?
Some of the conversations that we had with Mr. Parrish were also like, see if I get this right. If I were renting a building or leasing a building or rent to own a building, I may go into a deal with this. But what happens if I follow through then with purchasing that building? It ultimately goes back to the owner of that building. So that's why some of these wordings are in here. So that if I went into agreement to make this mural and I don't own the building at the end of this, then I shouldn't be damaging the person that ultimately owns the building at the end.
Oh, agreed. I just want to make sure that if
That would be covered.
the owner of the building is not prohibited from, driving pitons into the side of his building.
Yeah, that would be covered under the having to get permission from the building owner. For instance, for our businesses, we don't own, we rent.
Right.
So everything we do, we have to ask.
Right.
So if
And
somebody wanted to
I
paint a
believe
mural on
in
that,
the
they'd have to go
agreement
ask.
also, it's getting written permission, I believe it said, from the building owner.
Right, so I think that's probably covered that way.
I did want to say one more thing. If
Okay.
I could. I also get a contract. I do a contract, because I worked for lawyers my whole life. I do a contract with Jamie, and in that contract, he indemnifies the owner, me, the city, everybody. And I noticed there was nothing in that about that if he were to get hurt.
No, it did say something, about hurt, I don't know about that, okay.
Sorry, that you should have taken him home, I don't know, but
Yeah.
anyway, he knows that he's not able to sue anybody if something goes wrong on his end.
Okay. That's good. Anything else?
Barbara, I think Councilor Lorenz's point probably was, well, if the owner wants to damage his own building, how are we going to prevent him from wanting to do that? So what we might want to put in here is that this is pertinent to, on 7, to historic buildings that have been historically designated, something like that, where there would be some kind of violation of the historical covenant. You see what I'm talking about there, where let's see, it's, that will not damage the wall surface, including brick. Under 7, that was his point.
That was Larry's point.
It was actually Larry, but, you know, I think part of this too is, this is directed at the person doing the mural, not the owner of the building. So it's not saying, Larry, you can't do whatever you want to your building. It's telling the person doing the mural that they can't damage your building, is how I'm reading that.
Okay.
And that's an intention, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Damage your building first, Larry.
Then cover it with a
apply
mural.
for the mural. Okay. Now I got it.
How about make a mural that looks like damage?
Anything else?
I think you should put an avalanche.
I was
Just
gonna,
the
you beat me to it because I was gonna suggest
one
that.
point there was a permit fee, but that's
Yes,
been
ma'am.
removed.
So council, you have a couple choices this evening. You can move forward to approve the ordinance on first reading with the changes, or you can send it completely back to the city attorney to rewrite it and then come back again to city council for first reading. But you have those choices. If you approve it on first reading tonight or deny it on first reading tonight, then it would go to a second reading, but you can do that with the changes included. And then the second reading would have the corrected change or the changes that you all want in that ordinance. So you can either approve it with the changes on first reading or send it back completely and then bring it back again for another first reading.
All right.
So we can make Barbara read it twice or just once?
No. You don't have to do it again.
So,
Why don't we just ask, what, you said you've kept track of what the changes
Yes.
are. Let's just see what the changes are and just.
Your only
go
changes
with that.
are under surface preparation on historic buildings. We struck everything except treatments that cause damage to historical buildings shall not be used.
Mhm.
And then directly under that on maintenance, we added fading. Those were our only changes.
These are accepted with changes in first reading. I would move to approve, ordinance 913, regulating the placement of murals with said changes.
I'll second that.
it's been moved and approved to approve ordinance 913 regulating the placement of murals with changes. Is there any more discussion? Anita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve ordinance 913 on first reading with changes as recorded on record.
All right, contracts, agreements, and leases. IGA for opioid region 18. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks for coming on planning and zoning. Appreciate you.
So I was gonna get up here and ask for a permission to put a mural right wherever close to, so as soon as he woke up in the morning, that Councilor Foster would see the Colorado Avalanche. That'd be perfect.
We'll go talk to Jose Fernandez and put on the building. Eh?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
A mural
Use
of
a paint
Colorado
job.
Are you cheering
Avalanche.
for the Bolts?
I would cheer against the Bolts, but
Oh, okay.
I would.
I cheered for the Bolts just because he was cheering for the Avs. It really, I really didn't even know what game was going on. I learned a lot about hockey that week.
She did. She absolutely did. So, okay, so Gigi asked me to bring this before you. So a few months ago, you guys approved us to enter into the Colorado opioid agreement, and that allowed basically the city to opt in to be part of the lawsuit. It was like all the municipalities and entities in the state. So I'm back before you tonight. So that was approved. Now this here is a Colorado Region 18 opiate intergovernmental agreement. It's basically the same thing, but what the I know, I told Unita, I'm like, you got to say that word for me, intergovernmental agreement. So the IGA, so tonight all we're asking is that you approve Gigi to be the representative on Region 18, which is the San Luis Valley. That's all this is it's the exact same pretty much thing, but that she's going to be the representative for the Region 18 opioid intergovernmental agreement. So that's all this is. And this is 20 pages. I'm not reading it. That's,
We need to be thorough.
Do we have that
Section
in our
one?
packet?
so no, this was a late edition. She just got it today from I believe it's Commissioner Lasky in Alamosa is the chair.
Lori,
You're on this, right?
I was kind of familiar with it in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all this is this here's just Colorado Region 18 opioid intergovernmental agreement appointing Gigi as the representative for this region on this board.
Gigi's ready to do this?
Probably
She sent it to me, so I put her name on it.
Probably not immediately.
Yeah, they do have a list of, there's a list of all the different representatives, law enforcement, government, cities, counties. There's like, let me find the page there. There's like 20, no, not 20. So the multi-county region voting members shall be appointed by the regional PLGs. The regional shall collaborate to the regional council. So one representative appointed by each county. One representative appointed by a rotating city within each county. A rotating city member shall be elected by a majority vote of the cities. One representative from each public health department, one representative from county human services, one representative from law enforcement, one representative from a municipal or county court system within the region. So this is basically just saying that all we're allowing is we're appointing Gigi as the representative for this board.
I would move to have Gigi, the representative for the opioid intergovernmental agreement for Region 18.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Gigi as the representative for the IGA for the Region 18 for City of Monte Vista. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segula?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to approve Gigi Dennis to be the representative for Region 18 opioid intergovernmental agreement. And she said sure.
She said sure. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Do I need to give you this to have the mayor's number? The last page.
Yes.
All right, staff proposals.
Well, and if I can inject here real quick, there is a Colorado Opioid Abatement Conference that's gonna take place on August 15th and 16th. It's being put on at the Ralph Carr Judicial Center in Denver, but there is an online registration option if any of you are interested in participating or just wanting to listen in. I know Councilman Segala was our first representative on this, and we very much appreciate that, Victor. But if any of you guys, it's two full days of an agenda, and I don't know, maybe the chief wants to just listen in, but it's good for us to be engaged, but a lot of this will be somewhat out of our control as this committee is moving forward. I mean, we are one vote, but there's a lot of other stuff going on with all of this.
So
if you guys are interested, I'll forward you the information, and if not, I'll just take care of it.
They asked if you would please forward that information.
So just for a point on that, I'm actually was appointed by the AG to the statewide board on this, so I'm actually going to that conference. There's representatives from all over the state, so he asked me to be on it, so I'll actually be at that conference for the statewide one.
We expect a full report from you when you get back.
Unfortunately, there's not an avalanche game that night. So.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, George.
You see the call I picked up?
All right, we'll move on to staff proposals, reports, and actions. Unita?
So when you're done looking at that, if you'll just pass it down so I'm looking at it. So I'm actually reporting this for Gigi as well. So the picture that I have just sent around for you guys, this float for Stampede, this is the float that was purchased for the Stampede Parade. The cost was $5,000. We have two sponsors, the Chamber Tourism Board and CHAFA, and the remaining amount will be paid from the city's discretionary funds. With the proper care of this float, they said it can be good. It will be good up to 20 years. For the parade, we will have a banner that says City of Monte Vista, and we'll have 2 employees. Hopefully, we'll get some volunteers, but we'll need 2 employees to walk the banner, and then we will need 4 employees to help with the float, which includes 1 driver and 3 walkers. So that was just something that we wanted to present to council this evening and let you know that that will be in the Stampede Parade both days.
How tall is it?
Do you remember how tall it was?
Size,
It's a big
Well, most
one.
floats I think of are like 20, 30 feet tall.
No, it's not quite that tall, but it's like when they're talking about a driver, it's like pulling it on a cart, 'cause it's big enough to be on a cart.
And then the walkers hold the
There's
ropes.
2 walkers that hold the ropes, and then there's another one
It's
that
like Macy's
has to,
Parade.
has
That's
to,
what I was thinking, you know.
so like going under a stoplight, it has to be partially deflated to get under like the stoplights.
Okay,
And that blows right back up.
cool.
I have a question about the sponsorship. You said the tourism board sponsored it?
The Chamber Tourism
The
Board
chamber
and CHAFA,
and CHAPA. And
the Colorado Housing Finance Authority.
right. I'm concerned about the tourism board. As long as they're sponsoring, it's fine. But if it's coming out of the tourism dollars from the lodging taxes, that can't be used to sponsor this. I don't believe, because it has to be spent on advertising outside Rio Grande County.
Okay, so we are not aware of where it's coming from.
Okay.
Gigi might have that answer, but
Okay.
Anita and I are not aware of where
I
it
just
came
don't
from.
want anybody getting in trouble for misappropriation of funds, because I know that that's been a big chamber issue for a while. So it's supposed to be used for advertising outside. If it's coming from that, now if the tourism board has funding from another source, they can do what they want to.
What were you saying?
I don't know where they would be using the funds from other than that they said they would sponsor. I don't know.
Okay. That's something to take up with them then.
They're going to enter it in other parades in Denver and Springs.
Well, and that might make it all good, and that'd be fine.
So on the city clerk's side of things, just wanted to remind everybody in the city that if you're going to participate in the art walk or the farmer's market or any of the events that take place within the city of Monte Vista, you do need to get a vendor's permit. Our vendor's permit is only $5 for an event. If they want to do all the events throughout the summer, then it's a $25 fee for the entire year. So I wanted to remind folks of that. And then again, I wanted to remind businesses that if you open a business within the city of Monte Vista, prior to opening your doors to the public, you must obtain a business license from the city of Monte Vista. Currently have a couple of businesses that I've taken the application to a couple times. I've given them a deadline to make sure that we get those applications and those business license completed prior to the 15th of this month. So hopefully those businesses will get in, but I just wanted to remind everybody that businesses must have not only their state business license, but they must have a business license for the city of Monte Vista as well.
Is the state business license the same as the state tax number?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we have it out, because I have a frame with conspicuous place put on it, and they're both there.
And then just a reminder for City Council, you all have a work session on Monday at 5:30 with the SLV Fair and the Board of County Commissioners to discuss the McMillan building, and that will be here at City Hall. And then you also have a work session on Wednesday next week, and that's discussion for the American, or the ARPA funds. And then as you guys have instructed, to add the discussion of the URA as well.
Is that at 5:30 as well?
That is at 6.
That's
That
at
one's at
6.
6. And then the last thing I had for council is starting August 1st, I will be putting together an events calendar. The reason for the event calendar is because noticing that there's a lot more different meetings with different organizations taking place throughout the city, and I'm noticing that 1 or 2 of you are attending those meetings and those different events. So if we have an event calendar that's posted, then that helps us with any issues of if 2 or more of you are attending those events. So I will reach out to you every month to find out what your guys' calendars look like, so I know where you're going to be, so we can make sure that if you have certain events going on, that I can put that event on the calendar so it's covered. There's no questions asked.
So we're good if there's 2 of us at one place, but if there's 3 of us, then
If it's a local function and we have it posted or we have it listed on our event calendar, then you are all fine to attend. So like Stampede, it's something that's put on by the public. We know everybody's going to be there, but as long as we have that on the event calendar, then you are all fine. Any questions?
You were talking about the licenses.
Yes.
It's city tax, sales tax, and vending. Are those 3 separate?
So in order to sell goods, you have to have a state EIN number.
Right.
And then if you're gonna do just an event, then you would have a vendor's permit.
Right.
If you're gonna actually open a business within the city of Monte Vista, then you would have your EIN number from the state and then your business license for the city.
What's the sales tax license?
The sales tax license is through the state.
It goes through the state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Public Works, Mr. Vance.
Changing gears from the cowboy. Good evening, council. That's going to be a really difficult one to follow. I thought I'd change gears tonight. I didn't really have anything to really update from the public works side other than we're just trying to do our normal maintenance. While we truly appreciate all the rain we've had lately, it has made certain aspects of our job a little more difficult. It's been really too wet to try to paint, so we're falling pretty far behind on that. But what I really wanted to talk to you about, and I thought it would be nice to give you guys update on our fire and the cleanup efforts. So as of currently today, Cooley and Sons has already come in. They've completed all of their assigned properties. I wanted to make sure that I note that they did an absolutely amazing job. They have experience from the spring fire over there by Fort Gall, and so I gave them the task of dealing with the properties that were asbestos contaminated, so basically the homes that were destroyed. They did an absolute phenomenal job of taking care of those properties, making sure that the area was consistently wetted, wrapping the material and taking it to the landfill and working with the landfill staff to make sure that that material got covered as soon as it got there. So really wanted to put a huge shout out to them. They did an absolutely fantastic job. So they were an absolute pleasure to work with. All of those properties have been returned to the owners so they can do whatever their choice for the next steps in their restoration is, whether that's bringing in RV or something to start living in so they can start building. We've had a few reach out to us to look for replacement homes. So they are already working on trying to restore some of the homes in that area, so that's a good thing. RMS came in last week while I was on vacation and started working on the properties that had the other types of damage, which included outbuildings and things such as campers, fences, yard debris that was burnt in the fire. I was hoping that they would have it all set up before this meeting, but they still have a few trees that need to come out. We have a section of trees that got burnt. Some of them were burnt to the point where the bottom foot of the tree is completely gone. The upper half is then lodged into other trees next to it. So we have a pretty good risk, but they're working on those. We'll get those down. I also want to give a huge shout out to RMS because during all this, they also came in, I don't know if anybody noticed, but we had a huge sinkhole develop on North 285 by the road that goes into Grower Shippers. It was an old culvert that had collapsed right along a bore line that we did to establish water line back there about 6-7 years ago. So RMS came in with a phone call from me and went in and pulled their crews and went in and repaired that in 2 days. So I really appreciate them doing that. So they were trying to do double duties for us, so I really wanted to thank them. Once RMS is complete, then our fire cleanup process is done. All the paperwork, everything that we needed to submit to the state has been submitted. Everything for the landfill and all the documents there have been done. We literally have, I think, 2 properties that are remaining, and this entire project is done. So I'd like to just kind of let City Council know and just kind of put things in perspective. The fire was April 20th, and within 3 months, the entire burn area for Monte Vista will have been cleaned up and ready for redevelopment. Give you a kind of a reference, although it's a much larger scale. The Marshall Fire up in the Front Range, they only have a handful of their properties that have even started the cleanup process. So they still have a long way. So really to the audience here and to everybody, I really wanted to take a moment just to thank City Council and the City Manager for allowing the city. We had absolutely no requirement to go in and do the cleanup. I think it's an outstanding effort on your part to allow us to do that, to take that one burden off of our residents and to move the entire community forward. You know, Dale's really good about saying Monty Strong. Your efforts during the fire was an exact example of being Monty Strong and moving our entire community forward. So I just wanted to say thank you. With that, any questions? All right, thank you.
Hey, before you go off, so people know, you and I talked about it. Finishing up out here. When is the
CDOT.
pavement CDOT? Yeah.
So CDOT is planning, so they're doing their pavement in a couple of lifts. So this week they're out there, they're putting in the poles and the items they need for the new crosswalk. They're right there at the Marsh Elementary School. So that'll be done hopefully this week, and their plan right now is, as long as Mother Nature holds off and it actually stops to rain a little bit, they will do their second lift of the pavement next week. They'll close the road again Monday through Wednesday and start their final pavement operations. And anybody that's driven that area know if you leave 160, there's a pretty considerable lip to get onto any side street or any business. All of those will be smoothed back out and it'll be smooth. Now, I'm sure everybody's driven it. It is considerably smoother now than what it was prior to the actual construction. There's a few rough spots, especially the transitions like the railroad tracks and at the beginning and the end of each of the project. But overall, it'll all be smooth, hopefully by the end of next week. So, okay.
Thank you, sir. Just had to get a report out.
Nope, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
PD.
I'll leave the ad stuff alone for
Why would you want to do that?
that. Yeah, why
Most
would
fun I've had in a long time.
So obviously, our big thing right now is just gearing up for Stampede. We've had a couple of security meetings with Stampede regarding everything security related, the concert, the dance, traffic. Rob and his guys, of course, are real involved with all of that. Lowell's always such a great help to that. I'm glad Rob assigns Lowell to it because Lowell's very involved in everything Stampede. We've got the sheriff's office is on board, which is going to be very helpful. That helps having a new sheriff in place. So that's going to be helpful. But we're pretty much geared up and ready to go. As you know, Stampede's a big lift for the entire city, from you guys to Public Works to pretty much everybody in the city. It's a lot of work, but it's very well worth it. And then the Stampede Committee, of course, they're fantastic to work with. They've actually started setting up today because this weekend they're having the bullfighters only, which is kind of a very small version of what it's going to look like. So they're getting everything set up. We were down there and met with them today. We'll be there Saturday night for security for them. Speaking of security, we've been doing a lot of these off-duty security events at Sky High. Stephanie, as you know, has it booked. She has a lot of events going on there, so they have the option on the events of either hiring private security or the officers off duty to do it, and most of them have hired us to do it. So if there's alcohol, so if they're going to have alcohol, serve alcohol, and it's going to be longer than 2 hours, we're requiring them to have security. We obviously have a very vested interest in making sure that Sky High complex does not get tore up from drinking or vandalism or something like that. So that's one of the requirements that we have. So we've been doing quite a few of those. I got to tell you, we've already done like 4 very large quinceaneras, and those have all been fantastic. Not a single incident at any single one of those. Those families from Center that came down and did a fantastic job, and they were really actually fun events. I worked one Saturday night, and those were very fun events. So, and I think she's got a couple more quinceaneras, which is interesting. But it's pretty cool to see the whole. That's the first time I've really been there for the entire thing. So it's a pretty cool thing that they do there. So with that, and then the new cars. Maria did an interview with me today, and for an article for the paper on the new cars, and that's, as you know, that's completely funded by the 1 cent. So first off, thanks to the taxpayers for funding that and getting us those new cars, and then you guys approving it. So that's a big deal. As I was telling her, when I took over in 2020, our fleet average age was about almost 9 years old, and those cars, I mean, at one point in December, out of the 12 cars, we only had 3 cars that were running. So yeah, it was kind of difficult. We're like, I guess we'll run to a call. So, but we're getting the new cars, and we just got the first 2. The other 3 should be here in the next couple of months, and with all the equipment. Other than that, that's about all I've got. Other than go Avs.
Did you see that they traded for a goalie from the Rangers?
Did, and he's actually a decent goalie.
Yeah.
I read that today. And they re-signed Cogliano. We just got
I didn't see
2
that
more. Any questions? Other than that,
What are they going to do with Kemper?
I think they're going to keep him and get rid of Francois, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. IT. Made you be the speaker again, huh?
Yes, sir. But good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, IT is going to be pretty typical, just very short. Just a couple quick spark notes, and then just a quick little report over the fishing attempts that have been going on. So to begin with, this month we've completed the office movals here in Town Hall. So as you guys know, there was quite a bit of office hopscotch going on between all the departments. That is now complete. Everyone's moved over. That should no longer be the case. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood. PD vehicle equipment has been deployed. I work with Chief and his team to get cradle points and MDTs into the 2 new vehicles. So those should be fully up and operational, and as the new vehicles come in, we will get those out as well. Out at Sky High, we have Stephanie's landline set up, so she's no longer getting bothered 24/7 on her cell phone. She's actually getting calls there, so she can actually get some rest, hopefully. And then generator testing we had here at Town Hall. We found out that the generator was not kicking on when it should when the power went out, so that has been fixed, hopefully. But it's also uncovered that we had some UPSs, which is it's what keeps the computers running when the power doesn't go out. We found out we had a couple of those that were dead and need to be replaced. Those are replaced, and everything is fully operational on that end. But over the past few days, I'm pretty sure some of you counselors have gotten these emails as well. But there were email phishing attempts that have been going through to people within the city. We in IT cannot do anything to stop those for the most part. It's just like scam telemarketer calls. We can't really do much to stop those besides just warn you guys about them. With that being said, the security on the network is fully updated along with our antivirus. With these in combination to educational emails and spam filters within Google, it should help minimize the risk within these emails. All IT asks is that everyone just be wary, pay attention who is emailing you, and if you're unsure, feel free to email any of us. Email me, email Christian, email Jim, and just get us in on the loop if you guys have an email that you are suspicious about. And then the easiest way to tell if those are a scam is just if it sends a zip file, just assume that it's not safe because those zip files are encrypted and they'll just probably try and pull your password data. But other than that, that's all IT has to report. If you have any questions.
I do not. Appreciate
Alrighty.
you guys. Anybody else?
But next time if you guys want Christian, you guys are welcome to him.
Good job, guys.
City Attorney. We're gonna have to start putting time limit on Gene. He's already carrying too many books. You have
All these manuals to you page by page.
you have 5 minutes, sir. You better talk like an engineer.
Speed reading, really good.
All right.
No.
So, let me start out here. Municipal court. We had 41 cases on the docket. I think that's kind of average. This was on 6/15/22. Quite a few no-shows. Protocol in that is to go ahead and send a show cause letter as to why a bench warrant shouldn't be issued, and it's rescheduled, and then a bench warrant if there's no appearance, just so you'll know how the judge is working those no-shows. The cases we did handle were a combination of disorderly conducts, traffic violations, vandalisms, drug houses. The protocol now is that Anita sends us a copy of the complaint, the driver's history, the officer's report, and the docket history sheet as soon as it's available, but not later than the Monday prior to municipal court. And we need that sooner, of course, if it's going to be a trial. We size up the situation, and then we look at the driver's history. If it's a traffic offense, that Wednesday we had almost all guilty pleas, and it's one of those cases where everybody was actually smiling at the end. The police, the judge, and even the defendant, and that's very unusual. I don't expect that to happen again, frankly, but it's nice to have that as an opening shot there. The court utilizes fines and useful public service on offenses. And I did want to bring up the subject again of whether you want to increase the jurisdiction of the municipal court. to its full jurisdiction under the statute of $2,650 in fines and 1 year incarceration. Right now, you're at $1,000 fine and still, I believe, 3 months. So you don't have to make that decision tonight, but I thought I'd bring it back to your attention again. The protocol, I want to just cover that a little bit here on how everything goes, because I'm still getting used to the who I give copies to and who I don't, and when I give those, and so forth. Something like the mural ordinance, I know this is something you wanted right away, so I got right on top of that and had that out within about a week and sent that to you. But my understanding is that the ordinance would go to the city manager first. Now, if it's a case where it's with the planning commission or the PD origination, or let's say the URA, we still have to work through, does the copy go to the originator first and then to the city manager, or how does that work? So just so you'll know, if there's some question about this going out, my understanding is that I would get it out, first of all, a copy to the city manager, and then the city manager processes it on to you. But if there's any difference of opinion about that, please let me know. The mural ordinance, you're thinking of best case scenarios, and we always have to think in terms of worst case scenarios. And it's the way it's framed is with a certain perspective of benefiting the city, whether it's the city's historical past or celebration of events or natural environment or something like that. Because if you don't frame it like that, then anything goes. An image still sticks in my mind. I don't know whether you ever flown into Aspen, but there's a barn right there that's in full view of the plane as you're coming in. And this guy didn't like the planes flying over, so there's a great big mural there with a hand with the middle finger sticking up that stayed there forever. And so you have to consider this kind of stuff when you're thinking about this. One thing we discussed also at the Planning Commission meeting, and I think if there was any consensus about this, it was probably just to leave the zoning as it is. There's a straight zoning line that goes across there for the commercial area. I had suggested one solution for the residential people that had residences there, or just grandfathering them in for residential type of zoning. But I think the thought that came out of that was probably just to leave it as commercial. It was going to eventually become commercial, and to not really disturb any of the zoning in there. So that's what I picked up from that, and I don't know whether that'll come back before the Planning Commission again or not. We're working on the model traffic code. That's why I brought all this stuff up here. So I just wanted you to know, again, what we're looking at here. This is the code that you're under right now. This is the way that I have been doing model traffic codes so that it's very portable and user-friendly for the officers, and contains a table of contents, the adopting ordinance itself, the point count, equipment violations, and we have built in the things about ATVs and stuff like that into the whole equipment part. A section on moving violations, the penalties, the abandoned vehicle portion, definitions, and then the traffic signs inventory at the back. The last publication by CDOT was in 2021. It was really the 2020 version of this thing right here. So this right here, if you adopted this, it would have a lot of things in there about things such as violations on Highway 82, for example. Now, a lot of towns have gone in and just adopted the model traffic code as is, and I guess just deleted those parts when it comes down to it. But George and I discussed this a little bit. He would like to see this done by the first of the year. I've discussed it with Gigi some, and I don't see any problem with getting the model traffic code adopted within the next few months myself. But I would intend to probably do it in the same way for the benefit of the officers that we have done it for other towns with a small portable publication like this, and getting rid of all the stuff about that has no bearing whatsoever on what we're doing here about other portions of the state and so forth. And there's a lot of verbiage in here about local governments and counties and that kind of thing that really you've got to disregard if you're going to adopt this whole code. And there's also a lot of material in here about misdemeanors, petty offenses, etc. And we have generally termed everything as simply traffic offenses. So this is the kind of thing that we're working on with the model traffic code, and I just wanted you to know about that. And at some point, we'll have, what we have to do is an adopting ordinance that adopts this code by reference and integrates it into the chapter that deals with vehicles and traffic in the Monte Vista Code. Charter Review Committee. I mentioned this last time about working on our charter. Nita's brought it up a number of times. I think you've gone so far as to appoint a committee. I believe Margot was part of that committee. I can't remember who else, 2 or 3 people. But I was thinking about the time frame. This is going to take pretty close to a year probably to do this once you start working on this. And we've got, if you wanted to build this into the election in 2023, I think there are a couple of counselors that are up then, as I recall. So we probably would have an election. No? No one's up?
No one's up.
Yeah, 2023
Yeah, the
is
2023
Counselor
election.
Locke and Counselor
Yeah,
Frost.
these two are.
That's what I thought there were 2.
At the end of
I lost
2023.
Lost count.
So
You've had
anyhow,
another 4 years.
I was thinking of ways to save money on this and building it into the coordinated election. And that means that we'd have to have our ducks in line by probably about this time next year. So we really need to think about getting people appointed to the Charter Review Committee. And what they end up doing is forming all the list of changes to the charter, and then you pass an ordinance as a council referring this to the voters. So you got time limits and timetables on when you can do things, and it's usually toward the latter part of the summer. My recollection is August right now. Things have to be in there. So I think you probably need to think about if you're going to get this done at this next election, probably getting those people appointed and working on the Charter Review Committee.
What is the process for choosing a committee?
This part is kind of informal, Councilor Locke. You're not going to a formal process, or you don't have to go to a formal process of petitioning in for that. if you make the referral as the council. So you can choose the number of people you want. I would suggest one member of council, perhaps one member of the planning commission, and at least 3 or 4 more. I'd be glad to take the lead on, the legal part of the whole thing. But some community members, at least 2 or 3. And that way you've got input from the city's needs, and you got input from P&Z and from the community itself. So you might consider that, and maybe you could think about that and get that moving again by our next meeting. When Anita was talking about the acquisition of real estate and disposition of real estate and so forth, one of the things that we received at CML a week or so ago was, and I don't know, Victor, whether you were at that meeting or not, that we were covering this with real estate manuals. Colorado Springs has put out a real estate protocol manual, and we were able to pull that down. And I think there's a lot of things that we can borrow and simplify in that to just kind of establish a protocol for all the things we've got to consider when we go into either a real estate acquisition or a real estate disposition. So we do have a copy of that. I've been going through it, and I think some of the things are pretty good in there. And I'll be talking to Anita and seeing, what we can present to the city council about our suggestions for a protocol of no matter what we're doing with real estate, acquiring it, disposing of it, eminent domain with it, the whole 9 yards. Okay. So that is some work there. Just a few little things that are kind of extras that I might mention. I think we will have a complete complement this year in the Stampede Parade of all the armed services for the color guard. I've gotten confirmations. We could probably use one more Army if there's some retired sergeant major somewhere or somebody like that, that's willing to serve. You keep saying he doesn't have.
I sold it.
So that's getting firmed up. And speaking of that too, Letha Hershey would like to have any volunteers that the city might want to supply for Stampede marshals, the marshals being the ones who are keeping the Stampede Parade together. We have these big gaps, and when we're up there with the color guard, we can't really see toward the back of how things are getting separated. Sometimes the bands are playing and all this, and they stop, and so things get spread out. I'm glad to know that the chief is on top of security with this. You know what's happening some of the parades nationally. I feel like we're out there with a great big target on our front there, of leading a parade this year. But anyhow, we'll hope for the best with all that security out there. I thought we had a great meeting with the Optimistics the other night. Mayor Becker was there, Councilor Locke was there, a lot of enthusiasm, representatives from the arts were there, and just a really good feeling about things that can happen in the city, enthusiasm for businesses and so forth. And I mentioned that we had a commission in place, well, it's in place on record anyway, that could probably address some of those concerns. So that's that's kind of it in a nutshell, I guess, of things that I'm working on, unless you want me to keep talking up here.
I just want to know what you're going to do in your free time.
Yeah. That's all been eliminated.
Both minutes.
Yeah, my wife has mentioned that.
Thank you, Gene.
Sure.
Okay, we'll go to council committee, city commission, and council reports. Mr. Lorenz.
I have nothing tonight.
Mr. Sagala.
Just wanted to reflect on a visit to the CML conference, 100th celebration. A ton of representatives from all over, all the municipalities across Colorado. Is pretty intense. Very, very helpful for what we do here. You know, the first time I went to one, had barely been elected and didn't really know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what classes to go to because I actually took Councilor Johnson's trip. But I still learned, but this time around was way better, you know, just because I was more knowledgeable with everything, you know, and just being able to attend some of those classes, hearing these people talk about their governments and their struggles. It was very informative. I would strongly encourage every one of my counselors here, you know, to, if you get a chance, to go check it out. It's amazing, you know. And then you know, you also get to hang out with a whole bunch of other people that are all in the same boat as you, you know. So it's pretty cool. So just wanted to just encourage you guys for the next time around. If you guys can go, let's go check it out, you know. Another thing too was I know that last meeting we were talking about the second meeting now in July, because it's supposed to be on the night of a dance
Concert.
for the concert. So I don't know what you guys were thinking, if you guys want to have a council meeting or if you guys want to not have that council meeting. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys too, since we brought it up last time and we didn't make a decision. So what do you guys think?
I will not be present at the next meeting because of responsibilities that I have there. So don't let that encourage you guys to have a meeting and vote everything in.
That actually might begin to apply to more of us than we realize as it gets closer.
So I would motion to not have our next meeting and kind of table everything towards our first meeting in August.
And second that.
It's been moved and seconded to move the last meeting we have in July to our first meeting of August, which would be August 4th.
So right now, all we have is the second reading of the ordinance, is that?
Correct.
Is
We
there any
have
more
what?
discussion?
The only thing right, pending would be the second reading of the ordinance of mural that we would normally have done on the 21st meeting that would get postponed. That's what the question was.
Right, but there's no
Okay.
moratorium on them anyway, so.
Right.
It doesn't, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's just what Jason was asking, is what's pending.
But the moratorium's not pending, just the rules
No,
around
just the
it, so.
ordinance.
Yes.
Just the second
so-
reading.
So the murals can go ahead
I
as
just
they
wanted to
go.
know if there was anything else that's sitting that needs to be done.
Right.
Pertinent, which I think we'd all encourage everybody to go attend the 100th, because guaranteeing that we're not going to be around for this 200th.
That's right.
Unita?
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to cancel the July 21st council meeting and resume on August 4th.
Victor, you got anything else?
that I can think of right now. I'll interrupt on you guys in a minute.
Okay.
Foster?
All right. Well, actually, I have several things. One, I kind of feel like I dodged a bullet tonight. I was scared Chief was going to present me with an Avalanche jersey and make me wear it in public.
I didn't think about that, but that would have been awesome.
That would have, yeah. Still,
I was going to ask for a proclamation, but
yeah. My compliments to Mr. Farish and Planning and Zoning for putting together in very short time frame the mural ordinance. And that way we can continue to do these things without stalling the momentum that is going for that. We appreciate that work. I also mentioned that, Mr. Farish, I did like your proposal for zoning, and I hope that that can be adopted. We do have a new business in town. A medical provider, Robertson Family Health, has opened. They are right over there, right across from the park. So if you are looking for a healthcare provider, it's a little different system. Basically it's a subscription. You pay a annual fee and you get complete attention and coverage from somebody. So if you want more information about that, that is a friend of ours. Grace and Mercy's Community Supper, Tuesday night, 5 to 7. We're doing it a little differently this Tuesday night. We're going to do it outside. We're going to grill some hot dogs. We're going to play some games. We're going to have homemade ice cream while supplies last. We'll be making snow cones, 5 to 7 Tuesday. It will be a wonderful and fun time. July 21st, when we are not going to have a meeting now. Thank you. Rotary does have its Chuck Wagon dinner. That is before the events at Stampede. We will be at the east side in the conference center side of Sky High. Tickets are $9 and $6. $9 for adults, $6 for children. You can purchase those from a Rotarian. I gave mine all to the radio station to give away, so if you want some free ones, listen to the radio station. Gene has tickets to sell as well, or any other Rotarian. We'd be happy to help you with that. You can purchase them at the door. They are $1 more per ticket at the door. The theater has come to my attention again. We had a work session about that. We talked. We didn't really do anything. It has come to my attention again, and honestly, I would really like to see us open it up for RFPs to see what other ideas people have for the theater. In addition to that, I would like to see the theater board's 1, 3, and 5-year plans for what they want to do with it. I think we can do more with the theater. I would love to see it open during the weekday. I don't care if it's just selling hot dogs and cotton candy. It could be a huge benefit to our downtown area instead of being dark most of the time. And I would like to see if we can move it in a direction where it can be a positive force.
Mr. Mayor, this is Gigi.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman
Yes.
Foster, sorry, I've got a little bit of a brain fog, but you all approved me going forth with a grant, a ready grant through the Department of Local Affairs to do the financial analysis of the theater. And so still working through that process, and it hasn't officially been awarded yet through DOLA, but I understand that we will be successful. And so I think that all of us are a little bit anxious to push the cart and then the horse. And so we kind of need to all come to agreement, and I either need to pull that portion of the grant request, and you all decide what you want to do then with Valley Theater, or we go ahead and let this process take its steps and analyze what could be the best options for the city as we move forward, and whether it is to continue a relationship with a nonprofit, or they're trying to get their nonprofit going forward, or if we are going to put it out to bid and let others have an opportunity. I've heard from one business person in town who has given me a proposal, and I think he may have reached out to one or two of the council members, and until you kind of all decide what the process is that you want, we just need to make sure that it's fair and transparent for all of the players. And if your expectations are to get the current folks who are using the theater right now, and you want more out of them, then I think we can certainly tell them that, or we can change the process. But there's no sense in moving forward with a feasibility study if you all have kind of decided where you want to go and how to move forward. So I would just be asking then for your guidance on how do you want me to proceed in working with these, with the current group that's managing and running the theater.
Thank you for reminding me about that. I had forgotten about that particular study that was being done. Do we have any time frames? And I realize that I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, but do we have any time frame on when we might expect those results?
Well, Councilman Foster, I think that I will check with DOLA and get back to you just as soon as I can. They haven't officially awarded the funding yet. And then we were working with downtown Colorado to kind of take the bull by the horns and get the RFP listed. So it is still a few months out before we will have any results to be shared with you all and our constituencies out there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Martha?
Just to add to that conversation, I think we need to seriously look at, even if we're awarded that grant, what is that going to change?
Well, if we wait for the grant,
Yeah.
so we can get this evaluation done.
Right.
And there are some proposals on the table. I've seen one of them, but it's we're either gonna play it out or not play it out. So if we don't wanna play this out, then we need to ask GG to stop, and then we go RFP it. I think we need to play it out, because that's when we had that work session, we had that discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, it's government, so it's not gonna move the way we want it to, straight up. We know that, right? So we're gonna just have to kick this can down the road just a little bit.
Okay.
But it's that process. Yes, ma'am.
What is RFP?
A request for
proposal.
Oh, thank you.
It's for you to write your check for when you want to buy something. So,
I want to thank, I've been asked to pass along the Optimistics' gratitude for the support that they had for their first VIBE meeting. If you don't know what that is, VIBE stands for Very Important Business Engagement. It is once a month on the first Tuesday of every month. It's for any business owner, any building owner, any employee, manager. It's really open for anybody. It's open to the public. You do not have to be a member of the Optimistics to come. You come. They're going to have a speaker that will probably speak for about 15 minutes or so. Next month is going to be Jason Medina from Small Business Development Center. He was supposed to be this month, but he had something come up. It's what I was impressed with watching it was that after the speaking was done, was the mingling and the networking going on between business and business people, and that was extremely refreshing. just to see that. It's to see people getting all on one page and hearing what they wanted and hearing, you know, how they wanted to maybe realize some of these things. And that they're willing, many of our business owners are willing to get out there and do the hard work, even for other businesses. You know, even to help another business keep going. They're willing to do that. We just haven't had a platform where they've been able to get together to figure out how to do that, or who needs what, or what they've got. You know, what skills can be traded. So anyway, I was asked to pass along the gratitude that Mayor Becker was there, and Mr. Parrish was there. In fact, I believe he was the head of the party with the art council, the art crowd. I really do.
He showed up.
So I think there's going to be something going on there, but Martha didn't just say go for it. Okay. Just want to make that clear right now. I think that y'all can work this out. So that's going really well. I was also asked to extend an invitation to any of you that want to come. And if you want to speak, that's great. If not, if you just want to sit there and listen, that's great. If you want to mingle, that's fantastic. There's no cost to come, but we're not buying anything for you either. So understand that. If we're at a restaurant, you're buying your own food, you're buying your own drinks, whatever. This past time we had it at Grammy's Kitchen, and Miss Tina Friel Eastman, she did donate a small little buffet of nice little finger foods. I mean, it wasn't anything extravagant, but it was quite nice. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that, I mean, just at one point I stood back and I just kind of watched the crowd and I thought, you know, I've been told since I've moved here that Monte Vista is dying. And I have seen in the past 2 or 3 years, Monte Vista is not dying. We're coming back. We're coming back, and we're coming back strong. They told me 5 years ago I was dying. I didn't do that either. So we're not going to do it with Monte Vista either. I don't like those prognoses, I don't like those negative thoughts. So it comes down to this as far as I'm concerned. My dad had an old expression, get on, get off, or get out of the way. And I'm just looking at Monte Vista and I'm saying, get on the bandwagon, get off of it if you don't like it, but get out of the way, because we're coming. And there are enough positive people in this town, I would say mostly positive people in this town, that maybe haven't spoken up in a long time, and they're starting to speak up. Monty Strong has become, I remember the first night you said that, and that has become an official hashtag. Y'all go hashtag sometime. Hashtag Monty Strong. See what comes up. You did something there. It's good. So that's all I've got.
At least it was good.
It was good. You didn't release the RPGs. That's great. You know?
Well, Rob and the crew, what city did for those during the fire, awesome. Because that was everybody, and I think we did a great job doing what we did. Kind of set a precedence, I think, for other parts of the state, in my opinion. So thank you for everybody that was involved in that. The meeting was great. I enjoyed that the other evening that Optimistics put on, and probably the main focus is, you know, Stampede is coming on, the traffic, people just be patient, be calm. I mean, we've gone through the construction zone, so we've been patient. I've learned patience already, but let's keep that in mind and keep your neighbors in mind. I'm gonna leave the meeting with, if you guys see something that's out of the ordinary, say something. Do not be afraid to call it in. There is a lot of thievery, and I know that George loves them guys that just steal stuff. But if you see something going on at your neighbor's place that's out of the normal, don't hesitate to call it in. They'd rather get the call and it not be something as to have something else happen. So, Stampede 100th year anniversary, go strong. This is going to be a great time. So, with that, we will adjourn this meeting to August 4th, 6 p.m. right here.